Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Have you ever wondered, how in the hell did I get here? You are not alone. My podcast is called True Crime Connections. It's an advocacy podcast where I talk with survivors of toxic relationships, abusive marriages. We all have one thing in common. How in the hell did we get here? And how do we get out? How do we find our self-worth again? Well, if you feel that way, come check out my podcast, because not only do you get actionable steps to take to help you take your life back, but you can listen to how others have dealt with their own situations, including addiction, suicidal ideation, and low self-worth and respect. We can get you on the right track. Make sure to check out True Crime Connection.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Y'all. In case you were wondering what Dylan has done lately, just a few moments ago, we were discussing October. We can't believe Halloween is just around the corner. And then Dylan said something about it's going to be September soon.
Yeah, next. Right. Well, by just a moment ago.
October is followed by November.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. By a moment ago, she meant like our fifth take for me to get it right. I don't know. I'm just speaking out my ass. It's what I do. It's my bread and butter. So here we are. But we are wondering what the hell happened to October. The spooky month's already almost spent.
We had discussed decorating the yard for Halloween.
Yeah.
We were going to get all into it this year. And now it's just around the corner. And the only thing we have outside is an LED hologram of Jason that shines on our house.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a quick install. It's all we got. It's all we're going to get.
That's all we got.
But
I don't even have any pumpkins out this year.
Well, at one point, I decided to go just like low key, just very subtle.
You decided?
Yeah.
Well, that translates to Dylan is too lazy to hang any decorations. So
That's not true.
It is true.
I don't even have a ladder, so I just don't feel like getting all that stuff.
See, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You make things really exciting in our household, Dylan.
Well, I'm glad I can do that for you, Heather.
I have seen videos, viral videos of Halloween decorations. I saw a home, I believe it is in Malden or someplace in South Carolina in the upstate. This entire yard is covered in clowns.
Oh.
They had to have like 150 clowns in this yard. All these animatronics, creepy clowns.
Damn, they're going all out.
Just everywhere. It was quite a clown spread. It was too much.
I saw a home that appeared to be on fire was the Halloween decoration, and it was very realistic looking. So much so that locals were calling emergency numbers to report this house is burning.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of a weird one, right?
That's definitely something for sure.
Yeah, some people really get into it and, really put their hearts and souls in Halloween and Christmas as well.
The decorations, you mean?
Yeah.
Without further ado, Dylan, we're going to get into our case. And I have to say, when we were discussing this episode, we both thought we had already covered this story.
Right.
I actually had to go back into our files, and it's not listed. So we did not cover this. We've probably discussed it a time or two previously.
Yeah, but
We've never launched a full episode.
I even felt strongly that we had covered it. Heather had to look and make sure we have not. But honestly, it's 1 part dumbassery and 2 parts scary, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, really, on the surface of it, you're like, oh, God, this person's whatever. But when you really dig into it, it's quite a shocking crime.
Well, I think you get a sense of almost like a Manson type situation,
Yeah.
which makes it frightening when you have a charismatic leader who can kind of get people to do their bidding.
Who might smell.
Okay. Moving along. Clemmons, North Carolina is located southwest of Winston-Salem in the Piedmont region of the state. Life in Clemmons could probably be described as low-key. Many folks who reside in the small town commute to jobs in Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Statesville.
So it's a nice little piece of suburbia, right?
It's a suburban area. The town is known to be a bit conservative. There's a lot of churches. It has that, quote, southern charm, if you will, Dylan. In recent years, it's seen quite a bit of growth as migration into North Carolina continues. I know a few years ago, North Carolina was like number 9 in migration.
Yeah.
Folks are flocking to the state. They've ruined their own state, so they want to come ruin our state.
Yes, they pushed us out.
Yeah.
That's why we're no longer in North Carolina.
Yeah, they push us out, so we have to go ruin someone else's community. Clemmons made headlines a few years ago when a man who called himself Pazuzu Algarad was arrested for murder.
Now,
the headlines were sensational, Dylan.
Now, what a name. Pazuzu Algarad?
No.
Algarad?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, where do you come up with something like that?
Supposedly it's Arabic, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, the only time I've heard, wasn't that the demon in The Exorcist?
Yes, Dylan, but you're jumping ahead.
Okay.
All right. John Alexander Lawson was born August 12th of 1978 in San Francisco, California, to a young couple, Cynthia and Timothy Lawson. When John is 2 years old, the family moves to Clemmons, which was Cynthia's hometown. She had actually grown up in Forsyth County and attended Parkland High School. John was primarily raised by his mother. His parents end up splitting up. His father moves back to California. And although he struggled with school, he had to repeat 2nd and 9th grade, John was considered a somewhat normal kid. Cynthia and her son had a regular home life, according to her. When his parents split up, he was around 8. According to his mother, Tim was an alcoholic and a drug addict. He was in and out of jail, couldn't hold down a job. Not a good partner, right?
No, that sounds like someone who's not going to support you and, help you with like upward mobility, right? You're supposed to continually improve your life as you grow, right?
Tim moves back to California and seems to check out of his son's life for the most part. Has nothing to do with his kid.
Has nothing to do with his kid.
Yeah, pretty much.
What a winner.
Cynthia works at ProBlend Chemical Company in Winston-Salem as a secretary. From an early age, John is interested in horror movies. Now, in my experience, this leads to one of 2 paths, Dylan. You become a serial killer with sawed-down fangs, or you become a chunky middle-aged podcaster who decorates their home with posters of Leatherface.
Okay, so that's the only 2 choices.
Yeah, sure. Now, as a child, John allegedly liked wearing a cape and vampire teeth around the house. Is this abnormal?
Well, I was going to say, who doesn't, right? I mean, give me a good cape any day. I would wear a cape right now.
I have a cape.
I know you do.
I actually have 2 capes.
Well,
I have like a costume cape, and then I have a real cape that's wool, black wool cape
why
for
aren't
winter.
Why are we not doing cape stuff?
Actually, you know what? I have 3 capes because then I also have one that's like a sweater cape with a hood.
Oh, I need that one.
What can I say?
Because we have cool mornings right now.
It's called fashion, Dylan. John would say he really wanted to be a vampire, and I say dream big, kid. Don't we all?
Well, yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to be the living undead?
Immortal soul.
Existing off of the souls and sustenance of others, right?
Right. My only issue is I wish someone had turned me into a vampire when I was like in my 20s, so I could forever be young and thin and hot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'd want to be a vampire now, because then I would just be stuck like 45, right? Wow.
Your knees hurting.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. However, John was also a regular kid. He was described as happy, athletic. He liked to play baseball and football. At some point, John and his mom moved to Florida, and then they come back to North Carolina. According to his babysitter, Carmen Duba, John became violent around the age of 8. He was physically abusing his mother. Cynthia took him in for a psychiatric evaluation, but Carmen said that she directly blamed Cynthia for like being the problem. That her son's behavior was a reaction to his mother.
Okay.
Cynthia was drinking heavily and, quote, going around with all these guys.
Oh, damn.
Allegedly leaving her 8-year-old son home alone while she was out chasing dick.
Cynthia's out slanging it.
Right. So John was watching this play out night after night, and it likely disturbed the young boy. Carmen said he really wasn't getting proper attention.
Well, look,
borderline neglected.
We're being silly, but this is a terrible setting for a child to be raised in, right?
And though John will deny any kind of abuse, I mean, we really don't know what he went through during this time. Mom's got a string of fellas in and out of the house. I mean, we know that doesn't always turn into a bad situation, but it can very easily. A lot of predators prey on single moms.
Well, that's true, and you just short of a full-on predator, you just run the risk of personality conflicts, abuse of any type, emotional, sexual, physical.
Right.
All these things go through the roof statistically when you bring a non-custodial parent. Is that the right word?
Or just person.
A non-biological parent into the household.
Right.
And of course, biological parents, that doesn't give you a pass. There's plenty of people who treat their own kids like shit in various ways. But yeah, it was just...
Well, it's not even like she's bringing in a stepdad at this point. I mean, it's just like one night stands. So that's not going to play out well.
No, I think that's very unhealthy. I think even if someone can't remember back to specific, incidents of abuse or anything like that, I just think it really gives them a feeling of instability, which I think is very damaging for children. And it's just an overall not good scene for a kid to be raised like this. I mean, it's not.
As I mentioned, John repeated second grade, and that's a running theme throughout his academic career, if you want to call it that. He's a shitty student. He earns mostly Fs. He will admit to this. He has no problem with saying, yeah, I don't make good grades.
Well, I mean, he's not probably getting a lot of support at home. So how do you expect a kid to care about school if no one's helping them or, giving them the proper, motivation,
It wasn't until she remarried that Cynthia noticed a change in her son's behavior. Now, this is according to her, but others seem to have a different version of events.
Well, and that seems to be a theme in this case. You have Cynthia's version, what she thinks. But I have to say, given the circumstance in the end of the story, which our listeners will see, I don't know if I trust her version.
More than one person has pointed to Cynthia and say, like, I directly blame her for most of what went on.
Okay.
Cynthia noticed a change in her son's behavior. As I mentioned, he didn't get along with his new stepfather, Johnny James. The family moved into a house on Nob Hill Drive, which was an established neighborhood with what I would call middle-class brick homes.
Yeah.
Manicured lawns. Kids playing in the streets.
So it's a nice, normal working class neighborhood, right?
Yeah, clean, nice neighborhood, safe. Ideally, the kind of place I would say most families want to live. Reminds me of like the neighborhood we live in now. Johnny owned a small business. He was a mechanic and owned some kind of like custom striping business. So I'm assuming that means pinstriping.
Right, like on cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Since John did not get along with his stepfather, he became withdrawn socially, reclusive. Now, Johnny admits that he was hated by his stepson. But here's the thing. John was accustomed to being treated like this certain type of way and being able to, like, bully his mom or get what he wanted, manipulate his mom, right? And it had just been the two of them. And of course, this new stepfather is not going to stand for this. Johnny's more of a father figure. He's stern. He's got, structure. There's going to be rules followed in this household. You're not going to get in your mom's face. You're not going to physically abuse your mom. You're not going to talk shit to your mom. So, of course, this boy is not going to like this man in his home telling him these things because he's spent his whole life doing what he wants to do.
Yeah, he's had all this time he's had no structure, or kind of being put in his place, if you will, and then all of a sudden you have someone who has a completely different idea of how children should act.
Yeah, Johnny's not going to let him rule the roost anymore, and basically tells him, like, you're not going to be a little shit under my roof. So a hatred blossomed pretty quickly between the two of them, especially from John. Really resented his stepfather, did not care for him. Around the age of 13, John starts drinking alcohol. He even shows up to school a few times drunk.
At 13?
At 13.
Damn.
Gosh, I remember girls coming to middle school in like the 7th grade. So it would probably be around this age. Drunk in the morning.
Really?
Yeah, I remember these girls drinking vanilla flavoring because it had alcohol in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did it make them tipsy?
I don't know. I just thought it was stupid.
They smelled good.
Yeah. Because I was like, ew, vanilla flavoring, that's gross.
Come on, go and get you a hit of this.
John doesn't shower very often, and he smells. Other kids bully him for being the gross, smelly kid. A neighbor recalled that his nickname was Turd Boy because of the odor. He smelled like shit.
Well, I mean, that's kind of tricky. It's like kids can be mean, but I mean, as adults, we talk about the person at work that smells, right? Amongst ourselves.
Look, nobody wants to be around a smelly person.
No, it's true.
Saturday, we went to a punk flea market, and the minute we walked in, I was like, oh, the stench hits me. Because anytime you're in a space like that, a con, festival, market of some sort,
Lord,
you're always going to encounter body odor smells. And I don't know what it is, but there's certain people who refuse to take showers and apparently don't buy deodorant.
Well, and I know
Soap and water is free.
I've known people that
Cheap,
have
wash your ass.
issues with hygiene. They have very strong BO, things like that. But
Dude, it is one thing to have strong BO, Dylan, and it is another to smell like a fucking trash dumpster because you have not washed your ass in a week.
Well, no, but I
Come
was going to say, if I was one of those persons, I would shower all the time. I would be fresh. I would use products to try to help me manage this smell.
Advanced clinical deodorant.
But when you smell like this oniony, sweaty onion smell, that is nothing but badussy, booty, dick, and pussy, right? And it is gross. And there's no way I could walk around like that, let alone go into a tight confines.
Right. I mean, if your armpits smell like a combination of rotten feet and hot dog chili in a can, you need to do something with yourself.
Ew. All right, let's move on. So he's a turd boy.
He's turd boy. He does not have the best hygiene.
I just don't know how you do it. I really don't. Because I would be so itchy if I did not shower.
Yeah. Okay. John begins his freshman year at high school, and he's off to a bad start. If high school was any kind of opportunity for John to change his ways or maybe try to focus more on academics, he wasn't having it. He fails the 9th grade and is ordered to repeat it. So by 1995, John is a 17-year-old freshman, and he does not want to be a freshman again.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like you don't it's not bothering you enough to take your academics at least seriously enough to pass, right? Because passing, squeaking by, that really does not take a ton of effort. Now, does he have some kind of learning disabilities undiagnosed? Or is it he truly just doesn't give a damn to this point where he's not showing up, he's not doing any work, not turning anything in? I mean, I don't understand why you do that.
I will leave those questions to the experts, Dylan. I do not know. He drops out. Instead of barely passing by, he's just like, nah, fuck it. I'm going to quit school.
So he drops out his freshman year
Yeah.
and drives home.
At 17. He would later tell doctors that it was around his freshman year that he started experiencing, quote, phobia around people.
Okay.
By his early teens, John traded in his blonde locks for a shaved head. He abandoned the all-American boy look of his childhood for, I guess what you would say is a more alternative style. I'm not really sure what you would call it. Kind of crust punk.
Yeah, he's crusty. He's a crusty punk.
Maybe kind of goth, kind of crust punk. You know, he grows out his hair. It starts to dread up.
I'm sure it does.
Right.
Because that's what happens when you don't wash your hair.
According to his mom, he starts hanging out with, quote, the wrong crowd. Friends describe John as being suicidal. He would often mention his biological father and say things like, he doesn't want me. He would talk about Kurt Cobain's suicide, how he would use a gun to take himself out, or have other ideations about slitting his wrists, and would say things like, do you know how fast you bleed out if you slit your wrists, to friends?
Or he could just marry Courtney Cox.
Do you mean the chick from
not
Friends?
Not Courtney Cox, Courtney Love.
Yeah, those jokes don't land when you don't know what you're talking about.
He could just marry Courtney Love. She'll take care of it.
Yeah. Great joke, Dylan.
Yeah.
Now, the excessive absences from school ended, like I said, when he dropped out completely. And that's when John started selling drugs to earn money. He began tattooing his face, neck, body. And he kind of reemerges as a self-proclaimed warlock. Although at the time he was just telling people, I'm a male witch.
Oh.
Because, you know, he's really educated on being a male witch.
Well, no, I like how because he knows if he says warlock, people are going to be like, what's that? So he's just leading with it. A male witch.
I'm a wizard.
I'm the warlock.
John is diagnosed as schizophrenic and agoraphobic by doctors. His mother tried to get him help, but she says she couldn't afford to do a lot of it on her own because by now she's a single mom. We all know that there's a mental health care desert in our country. Crisis happening. A lot of people need psychiatric help.
It's true.
It's really hard for people to get in to see doctors, therapists, psychiatrists. There's no inpatient treatment programs, or at least not enough.
Well, the programs aren't comprehensive enough, right? Because I've seen people who really need help.
Well, that's the thing. People who need the most help typically don't get it for one reason or another, whether it's like insurance, finances, just a lack of availability.
It's all those things mixed together, and it really is a bad situation and a sad situation when you see someone. And I think he has issues. I think John definitely does have some issues, right? He's having a lot of trouble, a lot of social troubles with his peers during he's just now left high school. But all that time is such an awkward and weird time for anyone, even under the best of circumstances. And if you have this other stuff going on, I mean, it can really be a tough time, right?
Right. And so not only is John a teenage alcoholic, but he starts abusing animals during this time. He's torturing them, actually. And we all know that's not uncommon in psychopaths.
Oh, it's not. And I think his whole I'm the dirty, dirtbag kind of whatever guy, I think that might be a defense mechanism of sorts.
I think it also is a sign of mental illness.
And yeah, that too.
Now, the home on Nob Hill Drive is a nice 2-story brick home with a well-maintained yard. Neighbors such as Stephanie Seidel recalled that the house was kept meticulously clean by Cynthia. Johnny, the stepfather, did all the yard work. It always looked really nice. By all accounts, Cynthia was a good housekeeper. The home was well organized, spotless, and it just blends in seamlessly with the rest of the neighborhood. So by the late 90s, Johnny and Cynthia divorce. He moves out. They're no longer a happy couple. So Cynthia and her son remain behind at the 2749 Nob Hill Road residence. It is also said that John really encouraged his mother to end things with the stepfather. And was kind of like the driving factor behind their split.
He's never liked the guy. It doesn't sound like he's warmed up over the years.
Right. It's me or him. And of course, mom's choosing her son, which is a very strange ultimatum to give your mother. There's something kind of twisted about that, I guess. Especially when there's not really a solid reason for it.
Well, yeah.
Your stepdad's not tickling your butthole in the closet or something like that.
No, he's not. It doesn't sound like he's been touched by a stepdad, and it sounds like he just wants to go back to it just being him and his mom.
Yep.
Because he prefers it that way.
And of course, now we've got John. He's dropped out of school. He's selling drugs. He's essentially a grown man. He can't be bothered to pay bills, though, so Cynthia is keeping up her adult son. He's just a big mooch, Dylan. She's buying him cigarettes. She's buying all the food, providing him with alcohol. John likes to party, so she's buying him a case of beer every day.
There's no way. There's no way I'm going to keep up my adult child, let alone one with all these vices. I mean, shit. I can barely, at points in my life, I could barely afford my own vices, right? You always hit me up for a pack of smokes and some beer.
Hell no.
No, there's no way. You're at least going to work part-time and pay for your beer and cigarettes.
Yeah,
bud.
I mean, when my daughter wanted Starbucks every day, I was like, well, there's a part-time job down the street just waiting for you.
Well, and see, it's one thing. Now, I'll do whatever for my kids when they were growing up. But once they get older, and if there's this expectation that they're always going to get their way, they're always going to have spending money, get to do what they want.
Well, as kids get older, they have more expensive tastes and more expensive needs.
You're not kids anymore.
Right. And instead of, being happy with the $40 pair of Nikes from off the rack at the shoe store, they want the $200 pair of custom Jordans or something.
Right.
And by the time you're 16, 17 years old, I mean, maybe some parents don't agree with me, but I think it's fine for a kid to have a part-time job or even just a summer job. But it teaches them some responsibility. And also, if you want these nice, expensive things, you're going to have to do something to earn it, right? I mean, I'm not going to hand you money like an ATM every time you want to buy something or you go out with your friends.
No. And I think that it builds good life building skills, good adult skills for kids. Now some parents are like, oh, now you need to help me with all these bills. I'm not going to saddle
I'm not
my
going to make
kid
my
with
kids
that.
pay the light bill or anything.
No, but I don't think there's anything wrong with picking a very small bill, or you're going to pay for your own cell phone, or if you want to pay the internet, just to teach them about.
Well, one thing that I
bills.
did, I don't really expect my kids to pay bills, but when my daughter was older, on the verge of finishing up high school and whatnot, and she wanted to get a new phone. Her other phone was fine, but she wants this fancy new phone, $1,500 phone or whatever. I said, okay, well, if you want this phone, then you need to pay for the phone. So every month when we get the phone bill, your phone's $30 a month. You need to give me $30 a month toward this phone.
Right.
And it wasn't making her pay the actual cell phone,
She's paying the extra over the top.
She's paying the extra for this brand new phone. And I really didn't see anything wrong with that.
No, there's no. It teaches young people that you got a little skin in the game, right? Even if a small thing like that, hey, it happens every month. You need to think about it. You need to remember, right? I mean, I think these are skills that are helpful to young people.
I agree. I mean, I really don't see anything wrong with expecting your child to help out with something like their car insurance. When you get a new driver, like a 16-year-old kid behind the wheel, that jacks up your insurance costs a lot.
Well, yeah.
And not everybody can afford that extra $400 or $500 a month tacked onto their insurance. So I don't see anything wrong with the parents saying, well, you need to get a part-time job and like help me pay a little bit on this cost of your insurance or whatever.
Well, they're moving into adulthood and they need to have these minor skills, juggling or thinking about bills and stuff. Like I said, some people, in my opinion, go overboard with that.
If you can afford to just, throw money at your kids, they never have an expectation to work.
Well, I mean, that's great.
All they need to do is like go to school and play golf or be on the cheerleading squad or whatever. I mean, good for you. But I think a lot of us out there can't really afford for our kids to just live some lavish lifestyle.
Well, no, that's good. Good for you. And people do have different income brackets, certainly. But I do think you're missing opportunities of teaching your child a little bit of independence. And, do you want to be solving issues for them when they're 30, 35? You know what I mean?
You'll still have that 45-year-old living in your basement.
Well, I think you see these people and they'll like get a traffic ticket and have to go to traffic court, which is not the end of the world. It happens to everybody. But they got to bring their mom or dad with them. That's when they're old, quite older. You know what I mean? You see this sometimes, and I think it's weird. But I didn't grow up like that, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely did. I was not coddled in that way.
No, I was.
So basically what I'm getting at here is that John is on a downward spiral. He has no education, no plans for the future, is living off his mommy. I mean, honestly, that's just embarrassing. If you're an adult, able-bodied adult, and you're living at home, mooching off your mom.
Well, no, it is.
It's kind of gross.
After your parents have raised you up into adulthood, it's time for them to get a break, right? That's when parents should be able to do more of what they want. They'll, their financial responsibility to their children should lessen, in my opinion. So they have more of their own money to, like I said, do things they would like to do. And that's how the cycle is supposed to work.
When the events unfold on September 11th, 2001, the world as we know it, it was basically at a standstill. I think a lot of us recall the exact moment when we saw planes hitting towers, even though jet fuel doesn't really melt steel. Anyway.
Wait, what towers are you talking about?
Yeah. So in a small town like Clemmons, North Carolina, you can best believe people were shocked to see this on television. That's when John decides he's going to start dressing like a jihadist.
Oh.
So after 9/11, he starts heading out dressed in a turban and other clothing that could be associated with, like Arabic people.
That makes total sense.
Wearing like jihadist masks and stuff.
He's like a shock jock, right? That's what he's like. He likes to shock people.
Yeah, and he's really hoping that he stresses people out when he dresses like this and goes out to Walmart or whatever.
Okay, so you get people like this, and I think that stuff like this is attention-seeking behavior, right? They think they're edgy. They think they're like freaking people out. But really, a lot of times people are just like, what the hell? Just kind of staring at you like, what the hell are you doing?
Right. He wants the people of Clemmons to like believe he's a terrorist.
Okay.
Blue-eyed blonde terrorist. In 2002, John changes his name to Pazuzu Algarad. It was during a visit to his father's hometown in California, and I've heard that changing your name is easier there. I know in North Carolina, it's like a whole process. Like you have to go through courts and like you have to post that you want your name changed, and then like
see if anybody objects.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing.
You have to post the new name and everything like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's
At least
cool.
It was like that. So I don't know. I guess maybe some states all you have to do is just go say like, hey, I want to change my name. And they're like, okay.
I'm going to change my name to Wiener Boy.
Well, you can change your name to Wiener Boy. So he changes his name to Pazuzu. Again, are we to assume he's an Exorcist fan? Pazuzu is a reference to a Mesopotamian demon. Adopting this demonic persona, Pazuzu further changes his appearance. He files his teeth down into sharp points.
Oh my gosh.
He's already covered himself in a number of what I would call prison tattoos.
Yeah, high quality.
They're pretty shitty tattoos, bro.
Yeah, they're
Like, I don't know if he did them at home or he let some person off the street come over and tattoo him. Like, hey, I've got a machine. You want to try this out? But he's got a lot of shitty tattoos. Pazuzu is still not practicing the best hygiene habits. He will later tell a psychiatrist that he only bathes once a year.
His friends call him Poo-Poo.
Pazuzu also never brushes his teeth. There were rumors that he had split his tongue to mimic a snake. Others say that's not true, so I'm not really sure if he had the split tongue or not.
Gosh, he's doing low-level body mods, allegedly. But it sounds like he's probably doing like the cheap version, at-home version.
Yeah.
Like he can't even afford to go somewhere and get these things
He
done.
can't even get the Temu version.
No, he's getting the Clemmons version.
It was as if Pazuzu was willing to do anything that would make himself seem scary or evil to people in town. Like, he just really wanted to freak people out. He has a gigantic Satan tattoo across his forearm.
It is spelled correctly.
It is. So I will give him props for that. Also, Pazuzu has started using meth, which we all know makes everything work out like extra special for you. It's always a great idea to throw in some meth into a situation.
Well, it really, what's the right word I'm looking for? It really improves a person's personality, right? It makes them the life of the party.
Especially when they're struggling with a mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pazuzu would make claims that he could control the weather like the Assyrian god Pazuzu. He also started this new religion, which kind of mixed Luciferian beliefs and like theistic Satanism with Islam, which makes no sense to me, but whatevs.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Right. Well, forever he was just like a Satanist.
Because I've never heard of an Islamic Satanist.
But then, I guess after the shock of being like a LaVey Satanist just wasn't enough anymore, he needs to step up his game.
Yeah.
Well, with this religion, he feels like he has to make some animal sacrifices, blood sacrifices. He starts drinking blood, animal blood, and sometimes practicing like a bloodletting with others where they drink each other's blood.
Oh, it's very sanguinistic.
Right. Others have described this religion as more of like a Sumerian religion, and that there was some kind of monthly moon sacrifice that he started practicing.
With everything that you're describing, poor personal hygiene really doesn't seem like it's going to help this situation. Because I feel like you should be cleaning up a lot if you're doing blood sacrifices and you're like handling dead animals.
See, Pazuzu does not agree with you, Dylan, because he thinks that by not showering, you're protecting your body from infection and disease. You've got like natural defenses. And when you shower, you're washing all that away.
Oh, is that how some people think? You
Well,
think?
that's what he thinks.
Now, I imagine this is a good way to get like mites. You know what I mean? I've always been, scared to death of messing with like dead birds and stuff because I've always heard you could get mites.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Just like mites.
Mites.
Just mites.
You can't see them.
Random mites.
Yeah, just bird mites. I don't know.
So along with like multiple satanic tattoos, he's got stuff like 666 tattooed on his body. He's got the big Satan tattoo, images of demons. He also has a Nazi tattoo.
Well, I was wondering if he was going to leave that out, that symbolism. But no, he needed it because it's almost like he'll do something and then people are just like at first like, oh God. And then they're just kind of like, oh, and there's that guy. And it's like he has to keep one-upping the shock value, right? He has to keep adding stuff.
Right. Around 2006, Pazuzu begins treatment for his mental health issues and substance abuse problems. During this time, he's prescribed Zoloft, but he didn't continue with the medication because he would say it made him feel like a zombie, as opposed to meth, which made him feel like a prom queen.
Right.
Over a period of time, Pazuzu manages to turn his mother's nice home into a, quote, house of horrors. Cynthia was aware that her son was conducting dark rituals, which included animal sacrifice. She didn't like it, but she did nothing to stop him. Although Pazuzu desperately wanted to be an outcast and make people afraid of him, he also has like a happening friend group.
Oh, really?
He has this sort of Manson-like following of people. They call themselves the family. But really what this is, Dylan, is it's a bunch of drug addicts who are hanging out and partying with him.
Right.
There's a documentary that was one of our resources for this case, The Devil You Know.
The Devil You Smelled.
Right, yeah. It's a Vice documentary. It's like a multi-part series on this case. And I would say it's not the best documentary because I think it's like 5% about Pazuzu and his crimes. And then like the other 95% is like these people who hung out with him that are addicts, heroin addicts, just complaining about their life and like their shitty choices.
Right.
Yeah. Like, oh, I hit a man and now he's a paraplegic, but poor me. I can't get enough heroin today. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that with you, and it does seem to be kind of like that. But, I'm kind of surprised, but I think it's maybe something his mom's always done. So her home goes from when she had
A husband.
They had a nice home, meticulous. When someone describes a home as meticulously clean, that is, that's next level clean, right? Everything's always in order. Everything's perfect. And that takes a lot of work and effort to keep a home like that.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a home like that, but I'm married to a man who thinks it's okay to just throw his belt down wherever he takes it off.
Right, but at least I do wash my ass. But then she goes from that, her husband's out of the picture and it's just her and her son, to letting her son do whatever he wants. And I have to say, the state of this home in the end, after all these crimes come out, and the police do walkthroughs and stuff, mind-boggling how disgusting it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a property that should be condemned.
They literally do. I'm pretty sure they ripped the house down. But it is to the point of, it's like hoarders. It's on level of
Trash.
The worst hoarders.
Well, we're going to get into that, but yeah,
I
it's
just don't understand.
trash, feces, graffiti on the walls.
Like childish
stickers,
shit. It's
just nasty. There's like an altar room.
But it looked like a trap. I mean, it didn't even look like an altar anything to me. It looked like where you open a door and just fling trash in there.
Yeah.
And I just don't get grown ass people doing a house like that. Like it's something like 12-year-olds would do. No, not even 12-year-olds.
Well, Dylan, I think you are forgetting this is a deeply disturbed person who suffers from mental illness and is not being treated properly. And he's also, I mean, for lack of a better word, he's a drunk junkie. I mean,
right.
This is what addicts do. They don't mind to live in squalor.
Well, no, I'm saying, and even being in a friend group and going and hanging.
That's the thing that kills me.
Hanging
is how
out.
the fuck you go hang out? Because you got to be high as hell. You got to be on heroin or meth or completely like fucked out of your mind to go sit in this house that has literal shit in the floor.
And want to hang out there.
And it smells horrible.
You can smell this house through the TV.
We're just going to call it the toilet house. Okay, so there were people willing to hang out with Pazuzu, as I said. In an interview with Vice, Nate Anderson, a former friend, described Pazuzu as having a twisted kind of charisma. Like he wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but to those who were misfits, outcasts, kind of living in like the fringes of society, he was cool. Because a lot of these folks, I guess, kind of have their own darkness, whether that's addiction or they have their own like mental illness or whatever, or trauma. And then they see him as like this dark person. They kind of gravitate to him because it seems kind of cool and whatever.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand that, but.
No, I don't, but I think it is what you're describing.
But I also think that, when you get drug addicts and there's a house where you can go and party and use drugs and there's no limits to what you can do there, you're probably going to go hang out there.
Right.
Maybe not because you like the homeowner, but just because, it's a place to go shoot up.
Well, no, it's a situation like this. The drugs are really the center of this friend group, because what you would find if a person was to get clean or something like that, all of a sudden all these people who were your quote unquote friends, they're nowhere to be seen. They're not there to help you. They're not in any way real friends. Like, they just hang out and do drugs together. That's the main thing.
Pazuzu's home was always open for a party. People liked hanging around the house because there was booze and drugs, as I mentioned. I mean, it was just a free-for-all. There were no rules. There was no judgment. Everybody could party. You could just hang out. Oddly enough, despite his terrible hygiene, Pazuzu was quite popular with women.
Wow.
He had a number of girlfriends, a number of women who would sleep with him, hook up with him, wanted to have sex with him.
Come on, I can taste you, Pazuzu.
Hey, you devil man, why don't you dick me down?
I knew you was here. I smelt you before I seen you.
Like I said, he had a lot of girlfriends. He even had women who described themselves as his fiancés.
He called it the old sticky dick. That was a move he was known for.
That literally makes me want to vomit. Now, one of those women was Amber Burch. She was from Rock Hill, South Carolina, and had just graduated from high school when she met Pazuzu. Now, I'm not really sure how this meeting happened.
I'm going to guess Amber was trying to piss her dad off. And she's like, I'm dating a guy named Pazuzu.
Amber's life became unrecognizable to friends and family. She grew distant. Amber followed Pazuzu like anything he wanted or said. She's part of this religion. He starts referring to her as his wife. She dreads her hair. She shaves her eyebrows, files down her teeth. She doesn't shower anymore and starts practicing whatever bastardized version of Satanism, Islam, Sumerian, devil worship, whatever that's going on up at Nob Hill.
Tell much you better not wash my love off of you, girl.
Like, now you got two stanky motherfuckers?
And they're on Nob Hill. I mean, can we think about that for a second?
Wash your knob. Ew. I feel like that knob's got an infection.
Tell me, is your knob swole up?
Why has your knob got dirt on it? Is there a mushroom growing on your knob?
Why's my knob hurt?
Why is there mold on my knob? Amber's best friend, Katie Wagner Davis, who also appears in that Vice documentary, shared that Amber and Pazuzu would cut each other and then do a blood exchange, drink blood.
Oh my God.
So edgy. Although Katie thought this was all whacked out, she agreed to finally meet Pazuzu in late 2009. Katie arrived at the Nob Hill home and was in dismay at the condition of this place. As soon as she walked in the door, she described being, quote, punched in the face by a horrible smell.
Damn.
When Katie told Pazuzu, like, bro, your house stinks like death, he's like, well, that's the bodies in the basement.
Oh, man.
Whoa.
He's so cute.
I mean, honestly, the house, becomes its own character in this story. For real.
And his mom's just sitting up in her room. Just like there's not a fucking hoarder house all around her full of dead shit.
Those Glade plugins do wonders, Dylan.
She's just going around like a Febreze commercial.
Yeah,
just
she went to Bath and Body and got some apple cinnamon scented oil.
No, because even her room was
plug-in.
Basically normal, right? But then the whole rest of the house.
Well, I mean, it was more normal than the rest of the house.
But I mean, that goes to show that.
I mean, compared to the rest of the house, it was like a fucking showroom.
Yeah, but that goes to show that she was literally just letting him do all this to the rest of the house. I don't know. Even out of self-preservation, I just don't know how you do this.
In this entire story, everybody wants to talk about Pazuzu. And I think we should be talking about his fucking mom, dude. I think she's got some serious issues.
Well, I mean, I think you got a mixture here of him having some real mental health problems, untreated for the most part. And one of these situations where a kid grows up doing whatever the fuck they want, never being told no.
Being enabled.
And what happens is they turn into an adult who really starts bullying their parent, to where it's just easier for her probably to, scurry away to her room and kind of just hide out there and just stay away from him and let him do whatever the hell he wants. And this is what you end up with. I mean, this can be what you end up with. Or at the very least, like a bratty adult who just doesn't think they have to listen to rules or anything. They don't have to pay attention to them.
The house would, as I mentioned, become almost like its own character in this story. While Pazuzu reigned as Demon King, the house fell into disarray. No one took out the trash. It was hoarded with trash. As I mentioned, there's urine, feces throughout. I mean, nobody's cleaning. No one's washing the dishes. And we know at least 2 members of the household are not showering.
Right.
Yeah. Friends liked the fact that there were no rules in this house. Like, for example, people said, well, if you wanted to go take a piss on the carpet, nobody's going to stop you. If you started destroying the house or the couch, nobody's going to do anything about it. You can throw beer bottles at the wall, draw graffiti on the walls. And all the while, Cynthia, as you mentioned, is just still residing in this turd of a house, holed up in her bedroom while all this chaos is happening.
See, I was literally going to make a joke like, oh, man, I like going over here and hanging out because you can just piss wherever you want. But that's like literally true.
Pazuzu's friends are using meth, heroin, and other drugs. They're drinking, they party, they fuck, they fight. They take a shit in the bed if they feel like it. Just do whatever you want, man.
We call that the old Amber Heard.
You can take an Amber Heard in the house if you want to. Absolutely. Now, as long as everyone stayed out of Cynthia's room, she didn't seem to care what was going on. And again, this is just so wild to me, considering that the house smells like a rotting corpse turd.
Right.
Pazuzu would often entertain visitors by killing rabbits and birds. He would cut himself, then drink down the blood. And let's be honest, you'd need to be out of your fucking mind on drugs to be able to tolerate this awful house and just sitting around watching somebody kill animals and drink their blood or drink their own blood. I mean,
No.
I've been to some weird places. I've seen some things, Dylan. I've done some things. But I've never sat around watching my friend drink his or her blood, and I've never watched people killing animals for fun.
No, this goes beyond being high as hell, because I'm not necessarily done what they're doing, but I've partied down in my life. I've hung out in some places. Some of them might not have been the cleanest places, but nothing to this degree. I could not stay in a place like that, and it don't matter how high or whatever I was, or drunk, or any of that shit.
Maybe you just weren't high on the right substance, Dylan.
Nah, this is people that are trying so hard to be like almost a G.G. Allen level of shocking and subversive. Yeah, I don't know.
Just a new level of depravity.
Well, they're just because they describe what they're seeing and doing at this place to other people, and I'm sure the other people are like, what the fuck? And it's like, I don't know. It's almost like they're getting off on the fact of just being around this insanity. Because I imagine some of these people were just into a certain aesthetic, and, people go through phases or growing up when you maybe dress a certain way or hang out with some wild people. They couldn't have all been like mentally ill and crazy and stuff like that. I don't know. This is very interesting in a way that people would actually come around and hang around this guy when he's doing this kind of stuff.
Some friends say Pazuzu was truly schizophrenic. His behavior would change, like, depending on who he was around. Like, one moment he'd be really cool, and then it's like somebody would walk in a room and he'd get really keyed up and just change completely.
Okay.
Almost like hallucinating or checking out of reality. He would just start acting outrageous, which a lot of people were like, okay, he does this shit for shock value. But other people were like, nah, I think he's got some issues. And then others are saying, like he was doing it for shock value and that he was a good actor and really knew how to play up like maybe he was kind of faking schizophrenia.
Right.
That he knew how to play the part and act.
What do you think?
I think it's hard to say. I mean, I honestly think that he really did have something going on because this is so abnormal and like far out there.
Right.
The obsession with, demons and devil worship and thinking you get in power from sacrificing birds and rabbits. I mean, that just all seems a little nutty to me, or like not like that. Even if you're like an edgy person, like you're probably not going to take it that far. Coupled with like the not showering and the willingness to live in this kind of squalor and be so nasty. I mean, to me, that's like a sign of something ain't right.
Right. I think it's a mixture of both, of all the things. He likes to shock people. He likes to, gets to some kind of, it makes him feel, I don't know, like the big man on campus, maybe to be the weirdest of the weird bunch.
Well, and I mean, he did have like agoraphobia, like he did have a crippling anxiety when it came to leaving the house. I mean, he was essentially like a prisoner in this house.
So he was
like
just
a prisoner
there.
To his social anxiety and agoraphobia. Like he didn't go place. I mean, for the most part, like he just stayed at home.
So everybody came there to see him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't like he was out and about in the community, really.
So yeah, it sounds like he definitely had some true issues. And he also liked being like the weird guy or whatever.
So we got to talk some more about this. I mean, in addition to like bodily fluids being all over the house, there's empty beer bottles, which stink. I mean, all my bartenders know what I'm talking about.
Stale beer, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if you have a gathering and people leave solo cups around or beer bottles or cans and you get up the next morning and there's just 20 or 30 of those in your house, it stinks already, right?
There was like blood smeared on the walls, needles, garbage. The basement was fucking horrible. I mean, there's really no telling what all was buried underneath these trash heaps.
I don't know how these people weren't just infected constantly.
Maybe he really did build up his immune system.
No, I'm saying maybe he's onto something.
The walls, as I mentioned, were done with graffiti, satanic posters, symbols. One reporter described it as like Hot Topic Satanism.
No, see
that he had the house decorated with like little incense burners from Spencer's and like little demonic statues and Grim Reapers that you would get at like some novelty, touristy spot.
See, that's the thing about it. Just seeing them, video the house and going through it is it's one part, what the fuck, and two parts, someone trying way too hard to be cool.
I'm going to put up this no trespassing sign on the kitchen window.
And it's also very, has a very childish element to the whole
Yeah, like the
thing.
front door is painted black and has like some Halloween skull decoration hanging up.
Yeah, and it's like the graffiti and stuff, like you're going to color on the walls. It's like, what are you doing,
Cynthia and Pazuzu also lived in the house with 5 dogs. So we got 5 dogs in the mix.
See, these are the first people I feel bad for. The
Friends
dogs.
say that in the dishwasher, Pazuzu kept weapons. He would often tell friends and newbies to the pad about how he would kill homeless people for sport. Maybe get out a bayonet or whatever.
Okay.
This is the sword I stabbed him with. He would brag about shooting and stabbing people. Most of his friends didn't believe him. Again, he's this edgelord. Everything's for shock value. He's high, he's drunk, he's rambling, just trying to get a rise out of people. And we have seen this kind of thing before, Dylan, when somebody makes a joke or says something like, yeah, I've got a body buried in my basement. Most people are just like, ha, ha, ha.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
A woman named Bianca had lived with Pazuzu for a month, and during this time, she overheard him discussing murders and cannibalism. Pazuzu boasted that he'd killed 2 sex workers and eaten their flesh. To dispose of the bodies, he burned them in the backyard in a fire pit. Bianca just assumed he was lying.
Well, yeah, because that's so outlandish.
And that's the thing with Pazuzu. These rumors are out there, but they're just not taken seriously because they are kind of so outrageous.
Well, yeah, and he's always saying something, right?
Sometimes Pazuzu would threaten friends. A guy named Crazy Dave told Vice that he'd once been threatened with a knife. Pazuzu told him, quote, "You'll help me dig this hole or I'm going to kill you."
Crazy Dave.
Another lady named Sylvia LaBelle, who considered herself to be, like a Christian. Her father was a minister. She was somehow lured into Pazuzu's home in 2009. I don't know how you could get lured into this toilet house, but she goes inside.
By Turd Boy.
And she said that Pazuzu forced her to watch this highly disturbing homemade porno video. And that he told her he was the gatekeeper to hell. I wonder if he asked, like, "Are you the keymaster? I'm the gatekeeper." Pazuzu had mostly steered clear of the law, even with this toilet house. In 2008, he was convicted of larceny. Pazuzu received a year of probation. In 2010, he was convicted on a misdemeanor assault charge for strangling his mother. He had placed her in a chokehold so tightly that she passed out. Then Amber joined in and was like slapping Cynthia. And there are actually several cases of domestic violence where Cynthia is being attacked by her son or by Amber. And she calls the police. She'll file charges and then not show up to court, drop the charges, or calls police, but then doesn't want to follow through with having them removed from the house or whatever.
And then there's nothing authorities can do in a situation like that.
On August 3rd of 2009, a woman named Tarina Billings met with law enforcement after hearing a disturbing story. Her father, Alan Billings, made a startling confession one night. She said 2 weeks earlier, it was around July 17th, her father had been visiting the Nob Hill home. During this time, Pazuzu showed Billings a body in the basement. The victim was hidden under a tarp. Pazuzu explained that he'd shot the victim 10 times with an assault rifle because, quote, he was a snitch. The victim had been dead for 3 days. Pazuzu referred to the victim as, quote, the fat motherfucker.
Oh my God.
So we don't know his name. He's just calling him a snitch and a fat motherfucker. Using chlorine and cat litter, Pazuzu and Amber had attempted to cover up the smell of decomposition. Pazuzu then dismembered the body and directed Alan Billings to help him bury the remains. Law enforcement listened to Tarina's story, but did little else. An officer was sent out to the Nob Hill home. He observed an in-ground swimming pool and several cats, which could account for the chlorine and cat litter. Like, nothing else is really done in this matter. I mean...
I got a pool and some cats. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, just they don't want to believe the story is real, right? It sounds so out there. A few weeks later, on September 24th of 2009, Winston-Salem Police Department received a tip via their Crime Stoppers line. The anonymous tipster said that a man named Pazuzu, with a T, Pazuzu, had killed a tall, fat guy and buried him in the backyard of the Nob Hill home. The victim had been missing for a month, but we don't have a victim's name. All we have is that he was a tall, fat guy.
Killed by Pazuzu.
Pazuzu.
Which, not to be confused with Pazuzu.
Right. Egregious errors are being committed by law enforcement. I mean, little effort has been done to connect these dots. They're getting these calls, and yes, they do seem twisted. But a little bit of investigation, it's just very frustrating. All they would have to do is kind of look into like, oh, wait, there are missing persons reports on some folks.
Yeah, look at this guy's description. Fat and skinny,
Maybe we
fat
should
and
follow
tall.
up with this, right?
Right, but okay, so from their perspective, you got these people who likely have, jackets.
Well, they're
issues with
I guess
law
they
enforcement.
they don't seem like credible witnesses. Now, Tarina Billings, she is a credible witness. She's got her shit together. She's a professional, educated, very intelligent young woman. Has her life in order. So when she goes to law enforcement, she's really expecting, well, they'll take me seriously.
Right.
Right. But they even dismissed her.
Well, we've seen this time and again. You know, cops just don't take these people seriously. They're not to be bothered with it, and of course, these are just accusations, and they do have to have a certain amount of probable cause to get search warrants. And I'm not going to defend the cops in this situation, but you know, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate
I understand.
to a degree.
See, Pazuzu has infiltrated you. Now you're the devil.
I'm not washing my ass for the rest of the week.
Wow, big surprise there.
Oh no, hey, I'm spreading rumors on our
You
podcast.
do like to be lazy, so.
No, but I'll be clean and lazy. I don't even have time to be lazy. What are you talking about?
You're in your pajama pants and it's 4 in the afternoon.
That's because I worked all night, slept, woke up, and now here we are podcasting.
You woke up a couple hours ago. Now, Winston-Salem police received another anonymous email on February 9th of 2010. The email referenced Pazuzu having picked up a homeless man at a gas station. The victim had been shot and buried in the backyard at Pazuzu's house.
Okay, so yet again, another strong accusation.
Another strong accusation. A year earlier, on February 15th of 2009, a woman named Stacy Carter filed a missing persons report on her ex-partner, Joshua Wetzler. According to Carter, she had spoken to a friend named Allison Stitzer, who had recently attended a concert in Asheville, North Carolina. So while Allison is at this concert, she hears a rumor that Pazuzu has killed Josh Wetzler. He was then buried in the backyard of Pazuzu's Clemmons residence. Now, when Stitzer contacts Pazuzu regarding the rumor, she asks about Josh Wetzler, and he told her, quote, not to worry about Fat Josh anymore.
Okay.
Carter informed law enforcement that Wetzler was last seen on in June of 2008, and at the time Wetzler was on probation. He had recently lost custody of their son due to a lack of running water or electricity at his home. Joshua suffered from depression and abused drugs. Described as a hippie, Joshua had been known to follow like the Grateful Dead and hang out in the drug scene.
Right, and once people get to the point where their utilities are cut off, you know, they don't have running water, they don't have lights, you're in a very late stage, a bad place as far as your addiction goes, right?
With no job, no money, and failure to keep utilities paid, he was asked to move out by the landlord. Joshua had a history of disappearing for extended periods of time, but he usually kept in touch with his mother. She lived in New York. He would call her. Despite his problems, Carter said that Joshua was a great father to their 5-year-old son, and it was unusual for Joshua to go no contact with the child.
Right.
Even if he went on a binge or whatever, disappeared for weeks at a time, he would still maintain contact with their child, with his mom.
So now he's not been seen at all.
Right. Joshua's 1989 Buick had been recovered from an apartment complex parking lot near Brookline Street. This was in Winston-Salem on July 26th of 2009. So that's several months after he's reported missing. I mean, that's almost a year and a month since he's last been seen.
That's when his car's found?
Yeah.
Damn.
He went missing in June of 2008. That's the last contact anybody had with him. And they don't find this car until July of 2009.
So I wonder how they handle the car when they do discover it.
The car had been parked illegally. When police arrived, they found the windows down, keys in the ignition. There was no sign of Joshua. Carter complains in the documentary, the Vice docuseries, that she was not contacted about the car, even though she'd filed this missing persons report. And just to play devil's advocate, as you said before, Dylan, she's not
His wife.
She's not his wife. She's not his next of kin. So the likelihood that police are going to reach out to you,
An estranged girlfriend.
right, and give you any information is probably not going to happen.
Well, no, how would they even know? You know what I'm saying? How could they even reach out to you? Now, did she file the missing persons report?
She did in February.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I understand a bit from her point of view, but yeah. I mean, yeah, that's how it works, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, we know time and time again, adult missing person cases are not taken seriously. Law enforcement is not going to go to some great length to find a missing adult.
No, we went over this last week, right? And that story. And so, yeah, it's now when they find his car, do they take it? They take possession of it as evidence, or do they just have it towed off to a yard?
They just have it towed off to a yard.
They don't think it's strange that it's been a year since this guy was reported missing, and then his car's found abandoned somewhere, parked oddly, windows down, keys in the ignition. Most people don't do that. And they're just like, all right, cool. They don't search it. They don't do a proper breakdown of the vehicle. They don't have crime, forensics even take a look at it. Even a homicide detective take a glance.
I'm no Winston-Salem police officer, Dylan, but maybe they thought there was no evidence of a crime.
Okay.
So they don't want to take the time and energy and resources to investigate this car when the guy could pop up like in 2 days. I was staying at this apartment the whole time. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have these answers. Early February of 2010, law enforcement were granted a search warrant for Pazuzu's home. At the time, police had contacted an anthropology professor about possibly using some ground-penetrating radar equipment in the search. Law enforcement was told they would need to put off the search for several weeks in order to utilize this equipment and have like the anthropologist come out, help with a, dig, a search.
Now, that's one of the latest advancements in technology that anthropologists actually use, ground penetrating radar. Because used to, all they had was guesswork, when they were, say, going over a site or something they wanted to excavate. They just had to do it painstakingly, millimeters at a time. But yeah, this is a big advancement in anthropology. I'm sorry, I was just listening to an anthropologist, carry on about how this was the biggest advancement in ground penetrating radar in the field for many years, right?
Right. But feeling a sense of urgency in the matter, law enforcement conducted the search without the equipment. They didn't want to put off the search for several weeks.
Right.
Which I understand where they're coming from. They brought in cadaver dogs to search the property, but the dogs didn't alert. Due to the condition of the property, it's littered with dead animals, garbage piles. It's likely they couldn't smell anything else.
The dog's like, look. The dog gets out of the car. He's like, look, come here. Let me talk to you. He's smoking like
the dog gets out of the car and then immediately just jumps back in the car like, please take me away.
He's like, no, there's nothing good here.
I have very sensitive smell here. The search team found no signs of foul play and did not locate a body on the property. They didn't find any evidence of a crime.
But again, it's such a strange scene. The home, and I'm going to assume the property's probably gross too. Let's be honest at this point.
No, the property's totally gross. Like the outdoor pool, they have an in-ground pool, is empty. It's been vandalized, spray painted, just shit dumped in it, piles of crap everywhere. It's just
it's a hard place to do a proper search, really.
And it just looks like dirt. Like if there had been grass back there. I don't know what happened to it.
Damn, I bet the neighbors talk about this place.
You know it. In 2010, a murder put Pazuzu on law enforcement's radar once again. The body of 30-year-old Joseph Chandler was found near the Yadkin River at Donaha Park. This was on June 7th. Chandler had been reported missing by his mother, Sheila. He had only recently moved to the area. He was 30 years old and legally blind. The victim had been shot to death. Now, Pazuzu frequented this location near the Yadkin River. Supposedly, it was a place where he did rituals, tortured and killed animals. In October of 2010, about 8 months after they had failed to find anything at the property, the search. A man named Nicholas Rizzi was arrested and charged with murder. Pazuzu was also arrested and charged with accessory after the fact of involuntary manslaughter because he had allowed Rizzi to hide out at the nasty house.
So the first time they finally got a search warrant and searched the property, now that was in the connection with Josh?
Yes.
Okay. And
Or just the reports of there's a body buried there.
Okay, the kind of anonymous reports.
Yeah, we don't really know it's Josh. They're just describing him, remember, as like a tall, fat guy.
Oh, okay, so it's not
Or a
direct.
homeless guy.
It wasn't in direct connection to Josh being mixing.
Right.
And so now he's been linked or brought up in another murder by the river at a place where he frequents.
Right. So let's get into this. Chandler's mother, Sheila, told Vice that she did not believe the murder was accidental. Quote, he was chosen to be killed that night. She didn't know how her son had come to meet Rizzi or Algarad. Her son had walked to a convenience store and somehow engaged in a conversation with these two men. Chandler was invited for a ride. She's assuming he gets in the car with Pazuzu and this guy Rizzi. The three go out to this park. While Pazuzu sat by the lake, Rizzi pulls out a shotgun and tries to shoot it, but it jammed.
Oh my gosh.
He goes back to the car to fetch another gun. This Chandler guy, I mean, he's just hanging out. He tries to light a cigarette, and before he could even get it lit, Rizzi shot Chandler in the head.
Now, is he aware that this guy just tried to shoot him with a shotgun?
I don't know, because again, he's legally blind, so I'm not really sure. I don't know the details, and there really wasn't anybody there to tell us the truth.
Right. Okay, so maybe he didn't realize what was happening.
Apparently, they did not call police and just left the scene. But they're going to describe this as being an accident. Sheila states, no, they murdered my son. She does not in any way believe this was an accident.
I think I agree with Sheila.
Yeah. So Rizzi's arrested for shooting this man, and Pazuzu's arrested as an accessory. He's ordered to Dorothea Dix Hospital in Raleigh, North Carolina for a psychiatric evaluation. There, he's diagnosed with anxiety, given some medication for that. Doctors affirm the schizophrenia and agoraphobia diagnosis. The report stated that Pazuzu had a long history of mental illness and psychotic symptoms. The report also noted signs of a schizotypal personality, I don't know how to say that. Sorry. Personality disorder, which again goes along with he's psychotic.
Right.
He has symptoms of, he has psychosis. They recommended further mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment.
And a shower.
Well, yeah. They note in the report that he hasn't showered in a year. They recommend that, he needs substance abuse treatment, mental health treatment, and that should be a mandatory part of whatever sentence he's given.
See, here's the thing. You have someone who, it sounds like he's got issues that are affecting him adversely. I'm sure it's not fun to, I've often wondered what it would be like. I guess schizophrenia has always kind of fascinated me and scared me at the same time because there are elements of it in my family.
Well, I was going to say it's not uncommon in your family, right? I mean,
no,
there have been
there's
several members of your family who have been diagnosed.
Yes, and as you look through the family history, especially on the one side, my mother's side, some very prevalent, very significant mental health issues. And it seems how scary that would be to have these episodes, these breaks from reality, and to think they're real. It's almost like dreaming while you're awake.
Paranoid, hallucinations.
The voices.
Yeah.
Very unsettling and scary. But what's so tricky about it is you often hear, case after case, is the people that are having these issues, and then they try to force them to get help, is a lot of times they will not continue. They'll get them on it's what happens when they go to a hospital. They'll get them medicated, And yes, a lot of the medications are heavy. They change you. They make you feel weird. Maybe not like yourself, often described as that. But they won't continue. But it makes you stable, right? It helps make you stable. But a lot of times these people will quit the regimen of medicines, and then go right back into these spirals of psychosis and things like that. So it's really like, it's like, what do you even do in this situation to truly help a person when it's almost like they don't have the capacity to help themselves, you know?
Well, it's true. And then it gets tricky because a lot of states, like, you can't just involuntarily commit a loved one.
No.
And then there's always the argument about, personal freedom and human rights. And should you be able to involuntarily commit a person who's just out on the streets?
Like indefinitely?
Yeah.
And you can't. But at the same time,
you have people who are very sick, and you combine that with, they've got schizophrenia, but they're also using methamphetamine or using heroin,
right?
PCP, whatever, fentanyl, and they're having these breaks from reality, and they can be dangerous. They can harm themselves or others. And we're just told, like, oh, well, we need to just, like, let these people be. We'll do a little outreach, make sure they got some clean needles, and that's it. They are free to roam around. And I don't know. I get both sides of the argument, and there was a point where I very much felt like, oh, we need to do harm reduction and, like, help these folks. But I also think, at some point we have a responsibility to society in general to, get these people help. Like, by letting them be out on the streets, using drugs, hurting themselves,
possibly hurting other people.
I mean, it's not good. I think that's cruel in itself.
Right.
Are letting these folks who are incredibly mentally ill just be out there suffering.
And I don't think, sometimes I think they can't
consent to.
They can't
I don't think,
stick with the program. They can't help themselves.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of these people can't really consent to treatment, or they refuse it, but I don't think they are fully, like, they don't really have the capacity to make those decisions for themselves.
Right.
So it's a really tricky situation.
No, but it is. So, and you're making the point that where I was going with this. At what point do you say, hey, in the most compassionate way, we're going to force you to get help. We're going to put you in this place where you will be forced to take part of the medicine and stuff. And we're also going to do that to keep everyone else that's around you safe.
Well, it keeps them safe.
And it keeps them in a safer...
I've listened to interviews and watched documentaries. For example, today I saw a documentary. This young woman, she's living on the streets. She has a significant mental illness. You can see her pacing around, like kind of in a, different world, if you will. And the guy who's, making this documentary, he's talking about, like, he thinks she's been a victim of something. He's like, anytime like a male approaches her, she gets really upset. And he's like, I think she's been trafficked and that she's being harmed. And he's like, they oftentimes pick up these young women who are homeless and who are experiencing, like, a mental health issue or addiction, and they traffic them.
Right.
And he's like, I think she's been trafficked because she seems really terrified of men. But she's just left to wander around. And we're told we're supposed to just, like, let that be. And in the end, I find that to be very cruel.
No, I think that's way more cruel than
putting her in a safe place.
Like
with a hospital,
professionals.
Where she is being tended to and she's getting help and treatment.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's such a tough... it's just really a tough issue. I don't know the answers.
Well, I agree with you. The moral choice is maybe what we're describing even if it's hard to put into practice. But I don't think just leaving that person to their own devices on the street in the grips of addiction or all these ways they can be exploited, I think that's a more immoral choice than forcing them somewhere and just keeping them there.
I agree. I really do. And I mean, we're not going to solve problems today, but I just think as much money as we generate here in the United States, as much money as we send overseas to help other people, and we don't take care of our own citizens, like, why are we not investing into mental health care and rehabilitation? We obviously have an addiction crisis, right? Across America, we've been having it. The homelessness has spiked. I mean, there's just so many things that need to be addressed. Why are we not spending money to build rehab places, mental health facilities, hiring and training like the best people to aid these people, instead of spending all this money on these nonprofits where half the time that you never see an outreach worker? You can, talk to homeless people and say, when's the last time you saw an outreach worker? And they're just like, no. It's like the homeless industrial complex. You have all these nonprofits and shit, and they just keep making money off of it. So yeah, they don't want to solve the problem.
No, I think there's a lot of good-hearted people that work in that industry, but I think at the heart of it is they're putting Band-Aids on a gaping wound. It's never going to be. Look, if housing first and harm reduction, all these things worked, we wouldn't have any homeless people or anybody with problems.
Wow, we've spent billions.
Right, it's not working. It's not working.
Clearly, I mean, it's kind of like worse now than it has been, ever before. So throwing money at it, however we're doing it right now, is not the answer.
It's not, because if you take someone that like we're describing and you say, hey, here's a tiny home, they can't take care of it. They can't take care of themselves. They're going to trash it. They're going to, continue to have all these bad habits and stuff happening and still opening themselves up to harm and exploitation and all that stuff because they're not capable of taking care of themselves.
There's a guy, Kevin Dahlgren. He has social media accounts, and then we'll get back to our story. But he has been like an outreach worker for years. He's helped the homeless. He's worked with the homeless. Seems like a pretty genuine guy. And now he has started sort of documenting what's happening. He lives in Portland and just the issues there.
I've seen that guy.
And he's like, look, we're spending billions of dollars, but things are getting worse. And, I mean, he's absolutely right, and he will point out, like, here's a lady sleeping on the sidewalk. And he's like, she was given an apartment. Like, she has an apartment. Like, she lives in this building. She's been given an apartment, but she still comes out here and sleeps on the sidewalk.
Right. No, I've watched that guy's videos, and my heart breaks for these people. And he's not your typical, I'm going to go around and film these homeless, mental health patients.
No, I mean, I think he's truly
he's truly compassionate.
I think he really wants attention to this matter.
Yeah. And my heart breaks for those poor people that are just left to rot in those circumstances. There's got to be another way.
So this conversation that we've, taken this detour, Dylan, this side quest to discuss all these problems in the world, brings us back to Pazuzu because, by the time this unfolded, he'd been in several mental hospitals going back to childhood. He had not been employed in several years. He was receiving Social Security disability because of his problems with being nervous and paranoid. But, it's evident he's not getting proper treatment. And this is someone who definitely needs to be treated. And even the Dorothea Dix hospital's like, okay, we'll evaluate him, and then we're sending him back out into the streets.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
There's nobody here is trying to truly help this man.
Right, and if you're not going to help yourself, we're going to help you. I mean, that seems to be the only course of action in some of these cases, in my opinion.
In some ways, with this case, I see a system failure. Because this could have, in my brain, this could have been prevented if he had early on received proper treatment for his issues
Right.
and was receiving proper treatment, he would not have gone down this path. So I just see this whole thing as like there were chances for for the state or whatever to do something, and they just, we're diagnosing him and then we're just sending him on his way, like, go have a nice life.
How can you diagnose somebody with some of these heavy things like schizophrenia and type this and that personality and just be like, all right, we'll see you later?
Well, and you see this man and he hasn't showered and he's filed his teeth down and he's covered in these tattoos. And I mean, I have nothing against tattoos, but I mean, come on. These are not works of art.
No.
I mean, they're shitty like he looks scary because he's got all this like shitty ink on his body. I mean, the guy looks like a freak. Let's be for real. With these filed down teeth and shit.
If he did split his tongue at home,
and
I mean,
he smells like a turd and has not showered and doesn't brush his teeth and is telling you he worships some Assyrian god that he can control the weather and whatever. Like, how are you sending this person back out on the streets?
he's not. The kids are not all right.
Like this, yeah. I
No.
don't understand. Well, he describes to doctors that he's practicing the Sumerian religion that he made up, and that he and his wife are the only two practitioners in the world. Pazuzu told the doctors he needed to be released in order to make an animal sacrifice. Otherwise, his anxiety would continue, that making the animal sacrifice was the only thing to cure his anxiety. His mother, Cynthia, told the psychiatrist she was afraid her son would kill himself if he was not allowed to perform an animal sacrifice. Yet, despite the fact that the report paints a picture of this very sick and troubled young man, he is found competent to stand trial. He's released. He ends up taking a plea deal on May 28th of 2010 and receives 5 years of probation for his involvement in this man's murder.
For the accessory of murder.
This, this accident when you shot a man in the head. When your buddy shot a man in the head.
See,
And you was standing there watching, and then you took the guy to your house and let him stay there. So police couldn't find it. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, if I've ever heard of a case that needs no follow-up and some probably unsupervised probation at that, let's be honest, this is what you get. This is what I'm talking about. This is not good for him, and this is not good for the community.
Nope, because he's right back out. He's in Clemmons, using drugs, drinking alcohol as if nothing happened. It's very frustrating.
And what about the poor animals? Let's be honest.
What about this poor man who's lost his life
Well,
because of these two idiots? And then the criminal justice system wants to say, oh, well, it was an accident. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. And if I were that young man's mother, I mean, Miss Chandler, she's a lot nicer than I am, because I would be, oh my God, I'd be through the roof.
Now, did they nail the other guy?
Nicholas Rizzi pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter in March of 2011, and he was only sentenced to 13 months in prison for shooting a man in the fucking head.
But from going out of his way, and one gun jams, and he goes back and gets another gun.
But it's an accident.
This is premeditated murder.
It's an accident.
These two guys.
I just don't know how you can shoot somebody in the fucking head and then tell police it was an accident, and you run from the scene and then you're like on the lam. Because his mom said, if it was an accident, why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you call 911?
Yeah, I don't understand how that worked out like that. That's not justice for that poor guy.
Not at all. I mean, very frustrating. Finally, after years of enduring the toilet house and, of course, her son's behavior, Cynthia goes to law enforcement on November 8th of 2011. She claimed to be witness to a murder that had taken place in the house a few years earlier.
Oh, yeah. So a few years out in, I can't live with this anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So this is how it went down. At the time, Cynthia hears a gunshot. When she goes out into the living room, she sees Amber Burch holding a rifle. Amber is standing next to an unresponsive man who's kind of slumped over on the couch. Cynthia calls this man Tommy and says Tommy had been partying with the couple, meaning Amber and her son. Unsure of what to do, Cynthia returned to her bedroom. A few moments later, she emerges, telling her son, "I'm going to work," and just leaves the house.
Okay.
Later that evening, from the bathroom window, Cynthia views Amber and a woman named Dixie burying a body in the backyard.
Now, so she, in all seriousness, goes to police and recounts this story in this manner and doesn't feel bad about it? I mean, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Cynthia is a big part of the problem here. Well, of course, law enforcement needs some concrete evidence. They can't just simply take this woman at her word. So they ask her, well, do we have permission to go search the home? She refuses.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then she's like, I don't want to cooperate, and leaves. So law enforcement doesn't act.
Well, they can't.
Because they're like, okay. Now, at the time, all police needed to do really was investigate missing persons cases because a man named Tommy Welch had gone missing on October 4th of 2009.
So again, now here it is. They with just a little bit of follow-up, just a little bit of actual police work.
Yep.
They may have been like,
wait a minute, we have this fellow named Tommy who's missing, and supposedly they killed a man named Tommy.
And this area is not that big of an area.
Again, let's connect the dots. Or not. Yeah. So Tommy was last seen at the Colonial Arms Apartments where he was visiting his brother. At some point, Tommy told his family he was going home to his apartment on Brewer Avenue, but was set to return. Like, he had plans with his family. Like, I think he was meeting up with his brother, sister-in-law, maybe his mom. They were going to go, do something together. He was, I guess, a real family-oriented guy. He was described as just being like a blue-collar guy, regular dude, worked a job, just local guy, whatever. So he takes off walking to his apartment. I'm going to be back in a few minutes or whatever. It doesn't sound like the apartment's that far off from like where his brother lived. But he was never seen again.
Okay.
Just vanishes. In August of 2014, a guy named Daniel Pilcher, who resided in Lexington, North Carolina, reached out to police in Winston-Salem. He told them he had resided at the Nob Hill home with Pazuzu for 3 months, and that during that time, Pazuzu told him about a, quote, fat motherfucker buried under a tarp in the backyard. Crime Stoppers received another report from an Army veteran named Matthew Flowers on September 26 of 2014. Flowers had known Pazuzu for about 8 years at this time. He became concerned. This all takes place back in 2009. Matt becomes concerned, and this was, years earlier, when he had an ex-girlfriend named Dixie Ross. Apparently they were kind of like rekindling, I guess maybe their relationship or whatever. And she tells him that she helped bury a body on Pazuzu's property. At the time, Dixie shared that she was part of the family.
And so he's telling police this?
Yeah.
So, wow. And then I got this mom in here telling me that a girl named Dixie and was it Amber?
Right. So one of the reasons I think Flowers didn't come forward until 2014, although he's heard the story like 5 years, 4 or 5 years, earlier, is he was in the Army and he was stationed on the West Coast. So by 2014, he's out of the Army and he's back living in his hometown in Winston-Salem.
Okay.
So that's when he's like hearing. So let me get into this because he's like knows the story, but then he's hearing other rumors and gossip. Yeah. Flowers, like I said, had known Pazuzu. His ex-girlfriend had apparently helped bury a body on the property. Now, at the time, back in 2009, Dixie shared she was part of this family, this cult-like kind of group that Pazuzu had formed. Dixie admitted that she had done some, quote, weird things with Pazuzu and Amber, participated in some rituals.
Oh.
Who knows what else?
Yeah.
Maybe she had dirty, we haven't washed our body in a year sex. I'm not sure.
Gosh, a 3-way. A 3 stinky way.
Ugh. Throw up in my mouth. When Dixie shared this information, Flowers was very concerned about her safety. He was stationed in Washington at the time, and he paid to fly Dixie to the West Coast to be with him. I mean, you hear this story.
He's just getting her the hell out of Dodge.
Don't you feel like this sounds not like a good situation to be in, right?
Well, yeah.
So when she arrives, Dixie shared that Pazuzu had shot a man in the back of the head with a .22 rifle. Pazuzu was unable to bury the body because he had injured himself, jumping up and down on the victim shouting, "You fucked up, motherfucker," and had rolled an ankle.
Wow, that's a hell of a way to roll an ankle.
Amber had texted Dixie asking her to come over to help with something. At first, Pazuzu seemed angry that Amber might have told Dixie about the murder. Amber seemed excited, sharing with her friend, "I just did my first."
So Amber's the one that killed him.
That is what we assume, yes.
Right.
Now, the pair grabbed 2 shovels to dig a hole in the backyard. The hole wasn't deep enough when they tried to dump the body. They ended up covering it partially with a tarp. Pazuzu joins the women outside. The 3 began bashing the victim's legs with shovels in order to break them so that he could fit into the hole because they didn't dig it deep enough.
Jeez.
So after Matt hears the story, I mean, like, he just does not know what to believe, right? He's like, what the fuck? Well, about a month or 2 after hearing this story from Dixie, he receives a phone call from Pazuzu. Pazuzu calls Dixie a bitch and a snitch and is like, she's out here telling people everything. Now, Matt took leave from the army and goes home and confronts Pazuzu and apparently says something like, "I'm the one who turned you in and I'm not afraid of you."
Oh, wow. Matt don't give a damn.
So in the search warrant, Matt tells law enforcement that he's not afraid to testify. By now, at this point, 2014, Dixie's living in Winston-Salem. She's dating a guy named Cameron Myers at the time. Law enforcement need to track her down. So they start like looking into the boyfriend just to like figure out where she is, where she stay.
Right.
Dixie, finally, they are able to reach her. So police contact her. They want to interview her. They're like, "Look, we've spoken with Matt. He told us the deal. Do you want to come down here and talk to us?" She agrees to meet with investigators on September 29th of 2014. Dixie fully admitted that she had been friends with Amber Burch and spent a lot of time hanging out at the house on Nob Hill Road. During an encounter in September of 2009, Amber asked Dixie if she could keep a secret. Amber then leaned into Dixie's ear saying, quote, "I'm going to do my first." When Dixie pressed her for more information, because she took the statement to mean like premeditated murder, she's not a dummy,
Right.
Amber just said, like Paz. Like Pazuzu, I guess. But she wouldn't further explain the meaning behind it. It was 3 days later, on October 3rd of 2009, that Dixie received a text from Amber to come over right away. When she arrived, Amber was sitting outside on the porch. Again, she told Dixie, "I did my first." According to Dixie, Amber and Pazuzu had picked up a hitchhiker and that he was in the backyard, deceased.
Now, and this is the gentleman that walked away from his brother's house to go to his apartment.
The hitchhiker, we're assuming that's this, yes.
Right.
That's Tommy. Once Dixie joined Amber in the backyard, there was a black tarp. Presumably, there was a body underneath. Amber asks, "Do you want to see it?"
God, what is wrong with these people?
That's when Amber lifts the tarp up to reveal the arm and partial torso of a white male. The two began digging, but Amber is wearing sandals, Dixie's wearing sandals. So she described the ground being really hard and that when she jumped on the shovel to drive it into the ground, her shoes kept falling off.
These people have never, ever dug a hole with a shovel.
Look, if my friend calls me like, "I need you to come over here," and then like all of a sudden here we're going to like bury a body, I'm not going to do that with you. I'm sorry.
No, we've been over this
I'm
before.
actually not sorry. I'm just not going to fucking do it.
No, I'm not only not going to do it, I'm going to go straight and tell police. And who the hell tries to dig a hole with sandals, flip-flops on?
Look, do any of these
Footwear.
people seem like the best and brightest to you?
First thing I would do is go put on some boots.
These are not Ivy League brainiacs, Dylan.
Now, these people are
They're not MIT students.
They do seem to be low IQ, I must say. And it's just the fact that you would call a friend and tell them this, have them come over and show them something like that is just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
At some point, Amber puts on a pair of shoes that Dixie does not recognize, and then she starts making jokes about wearing a dead man's shoes. Pazuzu joins them at the burial site in the backyard. He told the women that they needed to put the victim in the hole. Dixie tells him, like, it's too shallow. And he says, quote, "Bitch, there's plenty of room for you in this yard, too."
I'm like, you can't even dig this hole. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you rolled your ankle, you little puss.
You're not even a man.
You got girls out here in flip-flops digging for you. The three then dragged the body over to the hole. Dixie said the victim was a white male. She estimated he weighed around 200 pounds and was only wearing a pair of boxer shorts. She described seeing a gunshot wound in the back and side of the victim's head. When Pazuzu realized they wouldn't be able to fit the body into the hole, that's when he orders them to break the legs, or the arms and legs, using shovels.
This is insane.
Like, if you just start bashing, eventually you'll break his leg or arm, yeah. Afterwards, Dixie and Amber cover the body with dirt because this doesn't really work. Now, while they're covering this body with dirt, Cynthia James comes outside and is acting like she's pulling weeds. Now, you got to remember, this is like middle of the night, early morning hours.
Oh my God.
Wee hours of the morning. And she's just out here pulling weeds. And that's when Pazuzu told his mother, quote, "Get the fuck back inside."
Okay.
The body wasn't fully covered once they put dirt on top of it. It seems like the victim's knee was kind of sticking up out the dirt. They've got this really shallow hole. Pazuzu grabs the tarp, places it on top, and then he piles several junk items on the tarp to kind of secure it into place. Amber suggests they clean the shovels by dipping them into the swimming pool. There's no water in the pool, but Pazuzu does keep just chlorine water in the pool, like a very little bit.
Okay.
Or who knows why. So they dip the shovels in there to clean them. Then the shovels were hidden behind some junk in the garage. Dixie joined Pazuzu and Amber upstairs where the shooting had occurred in the living room. They both tell her about how they had picked up this hitchhiker. He had been sitting right there on the couch. Amber went and grabbed a gun and shot him. Quote, "He didn't see it coming," Pazuzu said, and they laughed and laughed and laughed.
God, these people are sick.
Then Dixie was warned not to tell anyone, including her boyfriend at the time, Nate Anderson. He's appeared in the Vice documentary, as we've discussed earlier. If she told, Dixie would be their second or third victim. So they're threatening her. 2 days later, Dixie returns to the house. She says she does this so Amber would think everything was normal. At the time, everybody in the house was drunk and partying. Dixie took out her phone and started snapping photos. She had wanted to get a picture of the tarp in the backyard. She was hoping to get a picture of the body, but then chickened out. 2 weeks later, Dixie described there was another gathering in the house. During this party, Amber asked Dixie to help with the body again because it was starting to smell. Dixie tells her there's too many people around. Like, you have a house full of people. I'm not going to go back there and fuck with this body. What are you talking about? Amber's like, "Oh, well, it's fine. Pazuzu will make sure nobody bothers us. He'll keep everybody inside."
Okay.
So Dixie goes outside with her. Again, what are you doing? At some point, her boyfriend Nate peers out the window. That's when Pazuzu comes outside and tells Dixie, like, "You need to go check on Nate." So by the time she gets back in the house, she finds her boyfriend sitting on the front porch. He's intoxicated. He asked if she was participating in one of their, quote, weird rituals. And she's like, yeah, and she's really glad that he didn't know about the body.
Okay, so everything's okay.
So everything's okay.
What the fuck, dude?
This is what she's telling police.
Okay, look, Dixie, I don't know
This information is pulled directly from the search warrant.
Okay.
Yeah. Dixie's story was enough to get a search warrant for Pazuzu's house. So on October 4th, a judge signed the order. Investigators spent the day sifting through the rubble of the home and digging up the backyard. The house was so terrible that investigators had to use self-contained breathing apparatuses just to go inside.
Now, it couldn't take long to find the body in the backyard, right? It's literally like under a tarp.
Yeah.
In a depression, not even a hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, apparently the altar room was the stankiest of all the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was on October 5th of 2014 that investigators unearthed two bodies. Pazuzu Algarad and Amber Burch were arrested. They had been at the house when investigators found the victims. So while police are searching the home, they're just like chilling,
Okay. They'll never find it.
hanging out.
I'm going to have Satan glamour their eyes
Satan is protecting me.
to where they can't see
The
anything
power of the devil.
but roses and like daisies.
Both were charged with one count of murder and accessory after the fact. They were placed in Forsyth County Detention Center without bond. Now, once Amber Burch is in custody, she just starts singing like a canary, man. She tells them everything. That includes how she killed a man and buried his body in the backyard sometime between October 2nd and October 5th of 2009, which is almost 5 years to the day that this happened is when the bodies are found and they're arrested.
Oh my God.
The remains found on the property were taken to Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center for autopsy and examination. And this story was big news. People gathered for days outside the house watching authorities work. It's making, national headlines. You got these sensational story of cannibal killer, Satanists in the suburbs.
Well, yeah, this guy's name is Pazuzu.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that alone, you have a sleepy little suburban town, and stuff like this just doesn't happen there.
Afterwards, Cynthia James receives notice that she has to clean up her property, but eventually the house was sold back to the bank 3 different times.
Bank's like, we don't want it.
Neighbors erupted in cheers on the morning of April 24th, 2015, as they watched the home demolition. I mean, the house was flattened. They brought in equipment and just tore the motherfucker down.
Yeah, I don't think there was any saving that home. It was so far gone.
Yeah. I mean, when you've got to wear like special hazmat suits to just go in the house, it's bad.
No, and I think a place like that should be torn down.
Yeah.
Because it's the place where these poor victims were treated like trash, right? They were, attacked, murdered for, it sounds like they didn't even do anything. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even like a fight or wasn't over anything. It's just pure senseless violence. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah. Just absolutely no sense, no reasoning. I mean, just
to do it.
Yeah. Just because you're a sick fuck, I guess.
Well, no, this is one of those, God, their behavior is so strange. They weren't even like really trying to hide it. You know what I'm saying?
No, not at all.
And it's like you get a guy and a girl like this together. And she has to have issues too. Let's be honest. And then together they're dangerous.
Yeah. What is that? Folie à deux or whatever, like the folly of two.
Yeah.
Whatever that phrase is. So in the meantime, Pazuzu had attempted suicide while he was in the county jail. So they transferred him to Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina, for safekeeping. During this time, Pazuzu wrote letters to his mother. In the last letter dated October 26, 2015, Pazuzu wrote, quote, "I should get a medal for murdering these stupid expletive, I don't know what he said, expletive. It's
Why does he think he needs what's wrong with this guy?
Again, I have no words. I mean, you're writing this to your mother
And
while you're incarcerated.
They should have
and
put
are
his
facing
mom
a
in
murder trial.
They should have arrested her too, dude.
I agree.
On something.
A lot of people think that. Yeah, a lot of people think mom should have gotten some time out of this.
Yeah, because I mean, you're going way beyond just not the fact you're just not saying anything.
What about this Dixie chick?
Well, yeah. Well, that's well, you got tampering with a corpse.
How is she not
accessory after the fact?
How is she not an accessory?
You got tampering with evidence. You got multiple charges easily.
2 days later, Pazuzu committed suicide in his prison cell. According to reports, he suffered blood loss from a deep wound on his arm. However, no weapon or item was found in his cell. Rumors spread that he had bitten into his forearm, causing this injury.
Oh, damn.
I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows? So there would be no trial for Pazuzu. Amber Burch took a plea deal. She would spend 30 to 40 years in prison for second-degree murder, armed robbery, and accessory after the fact.
How'd they give her second degree?
Another woman named Crystal Matlock pleaded guilty to conspiracy to accessory after the fact of first-degree murder. She received 38 to 58 months in prison with credit for time served, which was 242 days. And I'm not really sure how Crystal Matlock fit into this. I mean, we've got Dixie. I was like, are they the same person? But I don't think they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So why are some people charged and others are not? Why is this fucking mama allowed to be out and about?
Maybe Dixie is Crystal. Because
I mean, I don't think so, but I'm just confused. Like, who's Crystal? And then we have Tarina Billings' father, Alan. I mean, supposedly he was there and knew what had gone down.
Yeah.
He passed away, I guess, before all this happened. So,
God, what a shit show.
otherwise, he might have been in jail. I don't know. The community was shocked by the gruesome turn of events. A childhood neighbor told Fox 8, quote, "Everyone knew little Johnny just ain't right."
That's a great quote.
Cynthia James keeps her son's ashes in an urn.
Oh, I'm glad she's able to keep them close. And honestly, to a degree, I feel like the system, he was failed as well. I don't think he was acting. I think he was sick. I think he had serious mental health problems. He didn't have a parent that had the guts or the grit to buckle down and get their child help. He could, like you said, he could have had help very early on. He had issues from 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? And that is the community, these innocent victims suffered because his mom did not nut up and do what a parent should do in a situation like that. And get her son under control and get her son proper help for his sake as well. So how could you not put responsibility on her in this story?
My resources for today were the Vice docuseries The Devil You Know, newspaper reports. Since this is a recent case, there's a lot of information out there, and legal documents. Once the search warrants were finally released, we got a trove of information about how they brought down Pazuzu. But we also see how the system not only failed by treating Pazuzu, getting him some mental help or whatever, but that they also failed to investigate properly these accusations, these rumors.
Yeah, because
these statements.
They were not criminal masterminds.
Well, I mean, that's like 5 years of people coming to you telling you the same story.
Yeah, I know.
Just going to keep like ignoring it?
Oh, yeah, well, he had a tattoo on his face. I don't believe him.
Just don't get it.
It's like, at what point do you say, wait a second, maybe there's something to this? If people are feeling strongly enough about to come tell you, they'll likely swear out an affidavit, right? And you would think that some of that could lead to search warrants and stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Gosh, it's terrible. Innocent victims caught up in this insanity.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part I think we get so wrapped up in discussing Pazuzu. We forget that there were 2 men who lost their lives, 2 men who had families and people who loved them.
And some of his associates were quoted as saying they felt like he, maybe harmed or killed other people.
Yes.
And I would not be surprised if that was true, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
It's just a very troubling story altogether.
It is. So thank you for that, Heather.
You're welcome, Dylan.
Thank you for all your hard work on that. And can't wait to see what we get to next. I'm ready. Can't wait for another installment. Heather's got a heavy workload right now. Another installment of the West Memphis 3 deep dive on Patreon. That has been a blast.
Yeah, we have 2 episodes out so far. I'm working on getting the 3rd released. We're just, we're crawling all over that story.
Yeah.
Like I'm a mite. Like a mite on a bird.
I done caught mites.
Bird mite.
A little Heather mite. All right. So until next time, we hope everybody stays safe. And you know what?
Keep it spooky.
Keep it spooky. Let's rock into November. I know that's the month that comes after October.
Not September.
And let's make the last week of October one to remember.
Yeah, throw a spider web on it. It's going to be fun.
Okay.
Bye, Dylan.
Bye.